your thoughts on this bread box?
Right here,
it looks pretty
be
fairly close to
a
the
little bit
reference.
less messy on this right here. You don't want to like try to force the cylinder to make that shape.
What do you recommend?
So I would
You can
say
either use
you're going to need to
corn roll
watch
or
how you're bubbling.
The same concept.
That's going to be the
right
biggest
here.
issue right now.
Just
Is get used to bubbling.
Yeah.
So this one was done correctly in a way and incorrectly in a way. So what I'm seeing is it's looking like you're just grabbing everything and you're just saying bubble.
You can either do that, or
which
you
is
can just
not
kinda, like
quite
extrude
correct.
what you need.
There's specific
So
edges that
let's
need
go
to be
right here.
bubbled, and there's
Let's say-
specific edges that don't need to be bubbled. And when you bubble
Right,
them, all
this
it's doing is just
I'll bring
adding
this
in
out right
extra,
here so we can kinda
Okay.
like
quickly
these three right here.
make what we want.
So what you're going to want to do is, when we're looking at parts to bubble, you want to ask yourself two sets of questions.
Okay. Would
So
it be possible to, like, say for instance, if I went on on this here and
Mhm.
fixed the sides, I can then just delete these sides and just kind of bring in new sides.
if you want to, some of it's not too bad. I mean,
And then we
these-
can kind of like
right here,
go
what you
around
can
now
do
with that,
is
so we keep that
we can
shape.
just delete
But
every
now
other
we don't have
edge.
to worry about the fact that we
you
have,
know,
like, this
since
huge,
thankfully
bunch
you
of
did it
edges coming
on this
down.
one, you did
So
a
we're
correct
extruded
number
clean,
of segments.
Yep.
Okay.
So
And
this
just
one
kinda, like,
you could just kind of
flesh out
come in
that
here and just
design a
grab,
little bit,
the
extrude
top
for
edge,
thickness,
and then
and
the
then
bottom edge, just leave in the
one
middle of
Okay,
each part,
so
and then just go and
fix
delete
those
it, and then you'll be
things,
back to the
add
original
things.
shape, and
Yep.
then you can just
and
rebubble it.
just double check.
Oh, can I
Make sure
delete it
that
now?
like everything's
Not right now, because
because
I want to go over why.
It's pretty close to being done. Like
why
that
we
also
Okay.
address all your
I'm gonna do
edges.
that. I'm actually going to shut off
So
the
this
wire.
needs to have a bevel
Okay,
as well too.
that's nice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Because I understand
So
that
far.
in order
Seems to be
like
finished
bevel to
What's up?
kind of like add shadow to things, like things don't look so
Mhm.
plasticky. And,
yeah, well, it's mainly not even just that, but you can see this edge here. You know, yeah, it's
and it's
just
also pretty
individual.
flat too.
Yeah,
Like the colors, there's no
exactly.
shading,
You know,
if you will.
there's no change in shape here, but what we also have is we have anti-aliasing here.
Okay.
Okay.
Like if we come in, we can actually see the stagger of
Yeah, it's
that
very
edge.
jagged
Yeah,
looking.
exactly.
So
So
beveling
basically,
cleans that up.
it
Alright,
does,
so
but
first-
the problem
Okay.
is if we go
This
ahead
needs to
and
be
we
separate from
bevel
this right
parts
here,
that we
because that's
don't need
glass and
to,
this is wood on
it does the
outside.
opposite.
So that needs to be
So
separated out.
that's why we want to make sure we're beveling the correct part. So
Okay.
basically what you want to do is you want to
Mhm.
look at the edge itself and see, is there a large change in shape from the face, you know, either above
Yeah.
me to below me or from left of
Mhm.
me to right of me.
Okay.
You know, so the face was coming this way, you know, coming from that edge.
Yeah.
Face is traveling this way, hits this edge, and then makes a huge 90-degree turn, and then
Okay.
goes that way.
Okay.
So in this
And
case,
also
yeah,
use
this
snapping
edge
to
would
make sure
need
that
to be
we're not
bubbled.
kinda
Alright.
Since the bread box
different.
is so blocky, most of the edges would need to be bubbled.
And
So
as
there's a
far as
lot
the
of parts
hinge,
inside, like things like
easiest
this.
way to kinda,
Everything
like,
would,
make a hinge
you know,
and
here,
kinda
here,
make
here.
it
You know,
look
you could just grab it and hit it.
is we'll start with a cylinder.
But there's other parts that you
Yeah.
don't want it to necessarily have. So,
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
so for things like this, where we have this edge here, you know,
Yeah.
coming, traveling here, hits the edge, and it rotates a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not such a huge change in shape. So
I see.
usually it's about 20 degrees, give or take, that
Okay.
you'd want to, you know,
Okay.
anything over, I'd say maybe
Yeah.
30, you know, you're probably going to want to
Yeah.
bevel.
And then I'm just going
The
to
other
take
thing
my
that's going to
pivot,
help is do your
set right
beveling
here.
last, so you can go in
Oh.
and
Okay.
fix that, make that the last. So get the whole thing blocked out to individual pieces. Because
just
like I
doing
said,
that
for
right
this
there
one,
kinda, like,
since you
makes
did
it
it
like more
with
locked, like
segments of 3, you can easily go in and fix it
And then
by
we can, like,
deleting
cap that
those
off.
edges.
Yeah, you just
and
highlight the
undo it.
line.
Yeah.
more fancier, but-
And then essentially you kind of undo the curviness, if you
Yeah.
will.
If you still had history on and it was the last thing you did, you could just go in and adjust your numbers
Oh,
too,
okay.
or
Cut
Z
off
back
half of
to
it.
it.
Yeah.
But so for this, you actually did a default
this out
segment
right
of 2, and that's
Screw it
bad.
down.
We actually want, or is it default segment of 1?
G again, so I can
Okay.
So
collapse
let
it
me
down
show
to the
you on the
center.
cube again.
And then I'm just gonna
Um,
grab these edges right
So is
here,
it
just
better to
bevel them
usually
real
have
quick.
1 or 3?
So even numbers. So segment number of 1 actually will create triangles in the corners here.
Oh.
Let me bring the
And
fraction
we just
down.
kind of like make little
Okay.
nice
So if we do
gaps for
it
this.
2, you know, it's going to quad everything. So, you know, so
Oh,
3
okay.
edges, but segment
That
number of 2.
makes
So it creates
sense.
2 sets of faces.
Okay.
If we bump it
So-
up to 3, triangle in the
And
middle. So keep it always even.
transforms.
If
So
it
just
helps,
kinda
what
go
I would
right
do
here
is
until it
probably
flips to the
go
other
in
side.
So
and change the number itself under your bevel option, so then that it always gives you 2.
Okay.
There's only a few times where you're going to need more, and it's if it's a really large
Good.
bevel.
We just need to correct the areas
so,
that need to
you know,
actually
2 by
be,
default should
like,
be
you know,
good
for us,
most of the time.
So
Filling
and so
different
again,
pieces,
if I wanted to, I
making
could just
sure that
delete
they're
those
right there, doing
lines,
right size,
right,
like,
and then
you
essentially
know,
just go
and
in
just,
and
you
then
know,
rebevel
approaching what
it and
stuff
say, okay, now I want to. Would that
On
be?
this one, because you have 3 edges.
on
This one's going to be a whole lot harder because you only have the 2. So you're gonna have to either choose, you know,
One or
top
the other.
Yeah, and then it's gonna deform
I think
your
it's
shape.
easier to probably go like for like the more like these sides.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah.
my opinion, because then essentially you just have like the tops
Well,
almost, the
Yeah.
top and
no,
the
no,
bottom.
you want to make sure that like
So some other things that
you're
I would go
picking,
in and adjust
you're
is
building that
Okay.
you're
so we can't
not
pick
giving
shoes
yourself
from, like, different
thickness
fridges and
on
make,
some of
like,
the parts
a
that you need to be. Like these are all still
Alright, so
paper
make
thin.
sure that like
Oh.
you're modeling
So you need to
that
go in
part
and
right
extract those. So what?
there. And, well,
For an example, this
so yeah,
piece
like,
here
we
that's
need
decorative
that,
goes all the way
uh,
across in
I
front of
think
this.
to be right there.
Okay.
And then this
Next thing
piece
is,
behind
you know,
it
I think
is
we
actually
actually
goes the
have
whole way down
Yeah.
to the floor,
Yeah.
and then that part sits
I
on
might
top.
have to
Um,
redo
these
this,
should
but
be a
if I could learn how to
little
do the hinges, I
Yeah,
could then.
that's
doors
fine.
in general.
Okay.
Other thing to take note is
And then
on the
from
image
there, yeah,
itself,
it's,
we have the side,
the rest of the
Uh-huh.
detail on
and then we
that,
have the door.
nice.
Uh huh.
You put a part in the
Alright.
middle, and it doesn't exist.
Where's
It's
that?
only the left side and then
Yeah.
the door itself.
Okay.
So, you know, paying attention to detail like that.
Okay.
Now, the hinge itself is relatively easy.
I was just thinking like it's probably a cylinder, right?
Yes, you're correct in that circumstance.
So isn't it just a cylinder that you essentially just kind of break down into like
Multiple
smaller-
pieces? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly that. If you also
So
cannot
both these
See
have their issues.
exactly
One,
what it is,
I
you guys have a little
remember when I
artistic
showed,
freedom. So
this again in class, I was kind of went over the fact
I don't
that
know why,
you shouldn't be
but
doing
I don't
2
have
second
any
levels.
internet connection.
Meaning
right
like
now, so
1
that's
second
great.
levels, we need to have those too.
Well, okay. So I'm assuming.
Um,
What about the?
also
Okay, this is
we
kind
wanna
of
make sure that
like
we're
a
not
minor
getting
thing, but what that
random
handle there?
pieces
Does that
of
handle look pretty
geometry
good?
right there. Like
Oh,
that's
all right.
there, but it's actually a separate board. And we're also again like, you know,
Yeah, it's looking
edge
pretty
flow.
good. What I
Yeah.
would do is
Just kinda
probably
like
bevel
starting,
this edge
stopping,
inside here and then bevel the
and
bottom
just
part.
figuring right
Okay.
there, we wanna
And
make sure
maybe
that
make it a
we're
little longer so we have space to put our fingers behind to
And
pull
then,
it
yeah,
over.
we need to
All
make
right.
sure that we're,
Only thing I'm noticing on that.
providing it.
You know what? Actually, what I might do is actually pull this off,
Make sure that
like redo like the
our
box, so like I
right
could like get my beveling, like say, okay, let me bevel this and like
Yeah,
not bevel
because
that.
it
We look at
probably
this
couldn't
right
hurt
here,
because
I
there's
know
other
we'll be
things
able to
like
zoom in once
there's a
we zoom
Yeah.
bar that runs
Um,
across the
out.
top.
Back up.
And that's an
Oh,
looks
That's connecting
well,
it. So
no,
it's
I
so
can
the
do
lid
that.
sits on top of that, so the
Okay.
door doesn't
But yeah,
like get stuck or
This
anything.
board
Alright,
and then
then.
goes straight
Um,
into the door.
yeah.
There's no like actual.
But yeah, the hinge
board
itself, yeah,
connecting
it's just
this
basically a
part
cylinder
and
that
the
you
door.
break up.
Okay,
Again,
so let me,
I don't have-
So there's
Let me
Why
just
don't
kind
five,
of let me just kind of
then we
scale
have
this
this
down
entire
because I know
section
that's
here
pretty
is,
very
modeled
small.
here, but it
Yeah,
doesn't exist
and then
right
I'll show you a little trick
And
too.
then, just
That'll be
putting that
nice.
together better.
Okay, so let me
and then just making sure that like we're getting
That's-
like all
that's
the pieces
fairly good.
extracted off so we can
okay,
actually
so let's
all right, so,
run that into
I definitely would probably continue working with this one
Okay.
right here,
let's go over there.
and then just make sure that like you're keeping everything clean, consistent.
Alright, so let's just kind of scale it down just a little bit more.
Did you lose internet too?
Yes, I did.
Cool.
Oh wow.
We're on the staff side, so.
So I'm working on a table. And
Okay.
like in the picture, it's got this as like 2 separate pieces.
Yep. So yeah, the tabletop is like 4 pieces.
Oh, it's 4.
Yeah.
Um,
Because the whole thing's actually meant to be like split apart, so you can put another leaf in there.
Okay. So am I kind of like that would be 1 piece, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
Okay, so I have like
So I
my
mirrored this
cylinders
And then it
in
kind
there,
of
Yeah.
combined it.
and I actually elongated it so it could look like a proper.
It's combined, so instead of what
okay,
you can
so
do
then-
is, when you go to mirror it.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna roughly make the shape real fast. It's gonna be
Okay.
kind of a quick and dirty.
We go right
Okay.
here
Um,
to mirror.
I should probably still like
Tell it
watch
different
that.
options.
Yeah.
And then we can
Yeah.
actually tell it to
just because.
Yeah.
combine with the original. That will make sure that it doesn't like
So
actually
that's
blow up.
I feel like I should
So,
put in edge
apply,
loops though.
Here, just watch.
Okay.
Alright.
Just watch.
Okay, you got it.
So can I see the image so I can roughly just get a quick?
I'm gonna go here.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not twos. Okay, so it's still got a little bit around this, but it's not much.
And there's also like screws, like 1, 2.
Yeah,
Essentially,
but
essentially it's
the nice
screws.
thing with the screws is they're secondary. You just model the head and you just stick it on top, and that's it. We don't see a hole, don't model a hole.
Oh, okay. So I don't even have to like focus on a screw if I wanted to. Just focus on the hinge itself.
You do need to do a screw,
Uh,
but do it second and just place it on top. It'd be like,
Just taking like a cylinder, just kind of flattening it down almost.
in a way, I mean, so you see this part, this screw on this piece here? I don't see a hole that it goes into. So all you need to do is just model the head of it. I don't need to see the threaded part going in. You don't even need to cut out a hole in the part here. You just stick the head on top, and then that's it.
Isn't it essentially just kind of like an indentation almost into the shape, if you will?
No, because this surface here is flat. Like the screw goes and then touches the top, and that's it. So if it does have an indentation, like how this one kind of has a cutoff, then yeah, model it. But you know, for these, the screws are just placed on top of it. So,
Yeah.
so okay, so as I'm, you know, so as we continue, you know, you're just gonna bring,
Yeah.
you know, and you're just gonna grab and keep, you know, adjusting your shape, you know, until we're, you know, kind of got what we need. Either way, so once we have that, depending on how many edges you have in here, so let me go.
Now, is that the cylinder part, or is that supposed to be like the metal
This
flap?
is the metal flap part. That's I'm modeling the top part right now.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm basically creating that shape because once you have that, we can do a lot of things with it. But you can see here, in this case, I have, and I've broken this part up into two separate cylinders. So if I look at both, I have multiple edges in here. Where this one I have the outer edge, but I don't have this middle edge. So you need to make sure you have the same number of edges here. So I'm just going to come in and intersect it. Because why that's important is first I'm going to combine them. So let me first duplicate this. I'm going to
So your
rotate
okay. So
180, and then this guy is going to be that size. And this will be, you know, down, you know, facing or whatever it is.
oh wow.
You know, in this case, I think it's going to be -90, you know, something like that.
Okay.
And then I think this will be more rotated, but I can adjust that later. And then what we need to do is we need to combine them so they're one piece. So combine. There we go.
And then essentially whatever you do to you rotate it, scale it.
Well, I do that after the fact. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the faces I want to connect. So I'm going to make this one piece. So I've got two sets of faces, and the faces need to be
What is
equal,
that?
so it needs to have even number of faces.
Okay.
And then
Yes,
I'm going to
you-
come over and I'm going to do bridge, which is going to connect
Okay.
those pieces of geometry together.
Okay.
And then now it's one piece that's connected. All I need to do now is, yeah, I can duplicate it. Now I can come in, rotate it, you know,
Now, one
move
thing
my
you're going to need to go back
pivot
and fix
point.
is one.
All right.
Bevel
something
every
like
edge
there.
on your
And then, yeah, I
right
can
here.
like
So like these right
move
here.
it up in place.
not
But now
necessary.
it works like a hinge.
Also, you want
The
to
top door,
kind of stay away
you know,
from, like,
is
that,
separate from the bottom
second
part,
bevel,
so we
you
can
want
rotate
that.
and flap by
Two.
its own.
So wait, how would you go
Because
about
1 second bevels,
doing a screw? You kind of
it's still
explain it to
pretty
me.
hard
Would you
edge.
mind
It
showing me
looks
just
like it
just
just
one
puts the edge
screw,
off.
perhaps?
I would come in, take a cylinder, because that's roughly what it is. You know, cut off the
So
bottom,
what you want to do
and then
is
somehow model
instead,
in that
just
screw
go
shape
right here to
into
the
it.
fraction.
Oh,
and
the
actually
like the crosshair.
bring
almost?
them close
Yeah.
together.
So, and
Because
because
that's
it
what
is,
It's
Uh-huh.
it's a
know,
rounder bevel, but
even
it's a
on
lot
each
closer
side,
together.
it's I would only
So-
model a quarter
So
of
go
it.
back
so
here, get rid of all
delete
these little extra bevels right here.
that,
Okay.
So far.
delete
We
that,
just need to fix the bevel.
and then what we could do is
And
I might maybe take
clean
these
this up a little
edges,
bit, see
bring
how
them
we
down a
got.
bit. Take these edges,
anything. You got the curve kind of
Yeah.
and then I can
right
extrude those
here.
faces
Just that
down,
this,
however many I think I
actually
need.
doesn't get
Bring them
thicker.
down, bring
It
them
actually
across,
stays the
and then
same
just fill in the
width
rest that
all the way
didn't
down
come
right
down.
there. The decide that.
Or I could do it
changes
vice versa, where I could just
Yeah.
come in and grab some of these.
Yeah.
You know, so
I'm a very
And,
visual person, so
the
it's
back
sometimes
leg,
like
so
it's
the
very
front,
tricky to
not
try and
the
make
heavy,
sense of verbal instruction.
right
yeah,
here.
that's fine. It basically start with what's the overall shape.
Before it
You know,
hits
so
the
what
right
of
here.
these
So,
is that
you wanna
shape?
bring the
I was kind of
And
thinking
then-
of a cylinder because
Looking good so far. Yeah, we
You
just
could
need to
do
make
that
those
too,
corrections.
and that's the thing is how I model may not be the same way that you model, you know. So it's kind of you got to
But
kind of play
I
around and
think
see
if the
how
results
you
are closely, I think that's like what matters in the end.
exactly,
ultimately.
yeah. So,
As long
but
as
I
the
mean,
results are fairly
again,
close.
you may have a different type of modeling than I do.
Yeah.
You know, I may like doing the sphere. You may like the cylinder. You know, so
Yeah.
Okay.
as long as you get the end result that you're wanting and it's
Yeah.
correct by the quads and everything like that, then you should be good to go. So,
All right then.
make sense?
Yeah, same
Yeah.
thing.
Cool.
Just stay away from the the bubbles. Make sure
Alrighty
that we
then.
dress
Next
like
one,
all
I'll
the edges
probably
right here. These right here
redo.
need to have like a sharper bevel.
Well, wait a minute.
Directly right here.
I don't.
'Cause
Now,
one of the
would
main
you
things
recommend
is
that I
being able to,
restart
like,
or
yeah, that's
just
a nice curve right
try
there,
and
yeah,
fix
yeah.
up like the individual parts that
It's
were?
really up to you. Again, I'm not going to tell you what to do exactly. I'm just going to tell you what needs to get fixed. And I can see a lot of these weren't necessarily done correctly. Like this guy was. Like if you can come in and you can see your bubbles, you have 3 segments in there, then this was done pretty well.
Okay.
Only issue on this one is you bubbled the middle edges. So again, you bubbled everything. You didn't select the edges that you didn't want. So in this case, because you did the 3, you could just come into this and just take that guy. In theory, this one could be all of them because we don't necessarily need any of these edges
Okay.
because it doesn't change the shape.
So
it's
I could
very
just
flat.
delete it then.
Yeah, exactly. We could just hit delete.
And
Make
it doesn't
sure-
affect it.
Make sure we do. Lindsay, you do the control delete. So it deletes the vertices as well.
Oh. That's something I knew I just learned.
Yeah,
So.
and then these guys here, you do want to bubble these edges as well.
Okay.
So it was good you did this, but even the ones you don't see on the back side, you're gonna want to bevel it. So
Oh,
it's,
okay.
yeah.
So like the top
so basically,
because like the bottom is pretty rounded.
you still want to have it, like right now, this edge to that edge is a harsh 90 degrees. You want to round these, so basically those boards should look something like squish down, scale down.
What I'll do is I'll just fix one board, delete the rest, focus on the one board, and then from there, after I get what I'm supposed to.
Wrong one.
Yeah.
Went off screen.
And that will slow
And then, yeah, so something like this.
So, yeah,
So that's what the
go back and make
board
some
should
of
be.
these, the corrections.
You know.
that we went over, make sure
So they're
also,
still
like,
flat.
you cover that as well, too, 'cause
They're
if you
just
look right
rounded
here,
edges.
yeah, it's kinda like-
All right.
And what that's gonna do is when we do that,
Okay.
actually, I'll just duplicate it.
Ah,
Control
yes.
D. And when you bring it really close, not overlapping, because that's a key thing, is you see that separation because of that bubble.
Yeah, okay.
You see a little bit of separation, even if the
Oh,
bottom
alright.
parts are like right on top of one another. It's
I
still got
see.
enough of it, of a
Yeah.
valley that it creates to catch
Okay,
that light.
that's really cool.
So, and that's what you're actually seeing here.
Okay.
So, cool.
Yeah, very cool. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. Because I was thinking like the part of the body that you said, oh, it's like paper thin. I was thinking about just like adding thickness to that.
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
after the
no.
fact too. It's just I'm pointing it out. For
Yeah,
things.
yeah. Add thickness to it. Because I mean, if I'm like halfway there, why like start from scratch all
Yeah,
over
exactly.
again?
It's
It's just
all
it's
you gotta
more
do
work.
is select the face,
Yeah.
extrude it out, done.
It,
And
it,
you
just,
just bevel
it essentially becomes more work for myself, which
So.
Yep.
Yep.
wanna work.
And again, that's part of it. I'm not going to tell you you need to restart it, or you may be faster fixing it than you would be remodeling the whole thing,
Yeah.
or vice
And
versa.
something called
Might be
discipline.
faster.
Yeah.
So it's
I hear
this
ya.
and
Thank
also
you
the
very
support
much, sir. Okay. So, well, kind of wasn't shown, but yeah, it's all right. Well, that's the thing. He showed me on his computer, despite the fact that he has no internet. But you know what, though? I recorded the conversation, the dialogue. So yeah, I have like something. I have something. And he gave me 2 perfect boards, so I could ultimately just delete all these boards and just take these boards and scale up, just slip them in. Yeah, just slip them in. Yeah. So you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna actually stop this video because there's